Welcome to the Wish I'd Known Then podcast, where we focus on how authors found success, looking at strategies that have taken them to the top of the bestseller charts, as well as what they've learned from their mistakes. Because being an indie author is more than knowing the latest marketing trend. It's about being innovative and creative and learning from your mistakes.
Welcome to Wish I'd Known Then podcast. I'm Sarah Rosette.
And I'm Jami Albright. And this week on the show we have
we are re-airing the huge episode we did about launch plans. And I think we called it the mega launch episode or mega episode because it's got so much in there. So
right.
We're going to put that in this week, and it's got Jami and I discussing how we launch. We launch like Jami launches differently than I do. And so we talk about how we do it differently. Mm-hmm. And there's just tons of ideas and different things you can do.
Right. And some of it's because I'm in KU and Sarah is wide, but some of it is because we're different personalities.
I was going to say our personalities. Yeah. Jami wants to have a party. I do not. So. Yeah.
But not a Facebook party because I don't like that.
No, but you just want to have a great celebration when a book comes out. And I'm more like, hey, here's the book if you want it. So that's this week. And let's see, I was going to share that Monica and Russell have started a podcast.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yes. And it's called Kickstart Your Book. And they have several episodes out. So there'll be a link to that in the show notes.
Great.
So, I've been working on my Kickstarter a lot this week. Mm-hmm. It's just been, it's a lot to do. And I know that this is the first time.
Yeah.
So like if I do it again, we'll see. It will be easier later. But so I'm working on my budget right now. So
that's good. That's good. I don't really have any new. I certainly don't have any writing news, except I did speak at Becca Syme's Better Faster Academy conference. It was virtual. We had pre-recorded it, and it was on launching.
Perfect.
And it was great. It went well, and I was really happy with it. And I am going to write a book about launching. And so there will be a Google Doc link in the show notes if you're interested in putting your name on a list so that when the book comes out or when it's getting ready to come out, I can send you an email about that, because I too may be doing a Kickstarter, but certainly not right now. And, with everything going on with my family. And on that note, I cannot thank you guys enough for your just lovely, lovely words of encouragement and love towards me. Your concern for my family and my sister. You guys have just been awesome and amazing. And I have
just
felt
so
the
supportive.
love. Yes. And I have felt the virtual hugs. And please keep them coming because we still need them. But I have just been overwhelmed by your just love and support. And so thank you so much.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a great community, and we're just so happy to have people who enjoy the podcast and if they're interested in not only the book stuff, but in a little bit of our personal stuff. We don't share like a whole lot, but
Sarah doesn't. I emotionally vomit on people, but Sarah doesn't share. She's got a little more control.
Well, my life is pretty tame right now, so.
But I just got my lash extensions done today, so I can't cry for 2 days. So I'm going to have to really hold it together.
So we're cutting it off right there, so we don't get too emotional.
That's it. So we'll get on with the podcast because we got a lot to say about launching.
Yes. All right. So here's the launching podcast.
So today we're going to talk about launching because Sarah and I do it very differently. And we're going to talk about a few things you need to consider before you even launch your book, or even if you have books out. Maybe there are things you haven't really thought about critically, possibly. I don't know. But I think one of the things is KU or wide. Are you gonna go into KU and be exclusive with Amazon for 3 months, or are you going to be wide? And KU is Kindle Unlimited. And so on the author side of that, that's KDP Select. So when I was new, I didn't really understand what those things, that those two things were the same thing. I remember listening to to one of the podcasts, and they would talk about it a lot. And I was like, okay, I'm so confused. And then one day someone said, those things are the same. And I went, oh, okay, good. So just for anybody listening, those are the KU or Kindle Unlimited and KDP Select. They're all the same thing. So.
Yeah. So I would say that if you're a new author, then Kindle Unlimited might be a really good way to go.
Yeah.
And for me, I've been wide for like as long as I've been writing. So it doesn't really make sense for me to take a single book and put it in KU when everything else is wide.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's important because if you have a platform wide, or if you, if you were traditionally published, or if you're a hybrid author, then possibly staying wide is a really good choice. When I started, I didn't have anything. I didn't have a platform. I didn't have, anything. So KU was a good choice for me. And I only have one series. So, and then this book is the beginning of a second series. So right now it makes sense for me to stay in, because with one series going wide, that's really hard to do. And, I'm fortunate that I make my living from KU page reads right now. So that's for me where I'm staying at the moment. It's always fluctuating. And when I get this second series out, I may take one of my series and put it wide and just see what I can do. And by the same token, I don't think it's a bad idea for some people to take a wide series and put it into KU for a few months and see.
Because it may be a totally different readership in KU. Exactly. And I think genre has a lot to do with it, because there are some genres that are huge in KU.
Yes.
And that's probably where you want to be,
Yeah, I agree. And so before you launch, you need to make that decision, and weigh the pros and cons. And, there are pros to being in KU. I mean, it's kind of proven that if they've got two authors equal in every way, except one's in KU, they're going to show KU authors first. I mean,
it's true. Yeah.
It's not particularly fair, but that's just how it is. And so it's exposure. It gives you a platform before you actually have one.
And it's convenient too in a lot of ways, because you just have one place to upload and you have one place to change your price or do whatever you need, and then you're done. So it can save you time if you don't have a lot of time.
Yeah, it can. But then that kind of brings us to one of the cons, which is you are exclusive to Amazon. You cannot sell your book. You cannot sell your ebook anywhere else. Paperbacks you can sell, but you cannot sell your ebooks anywhere else. And that's a big deal. I mean, that's a big deal in it. And there's, a raging argument, a raging controversy between KU and wide authors sometimes. And that's legitimate, that to be exclusive to Amazon does limit you. It puts them in control. And I don't love that. But at this moment in time, that's kind of I've weighed the pros and cons. And for me, it makes more sense to be in KU. Yeah. I think another con is that your platform is, because you are exclusive, your platform is limited. You don't have a wider base of readers. KU readers can be a little bit, not fickle, but they read a lot. So they're reading your book, putting it down, picking up somebody else's and reading it and putting it down. Wide readers, I think, are a little more, they kind of have their favorite authors, and they, I don't know. I mean, I may be wrong about that, but I feel like you can develop a deeper maybe platform of readers. I mean, and group of readers wide than on KU, simply because there's so many on KU.
Right. And I feel like if someone is buying my book, and they're paying for it. They're more likely to read it and more likely to remember me as an author. Whereas if you're in KU and you're like, oh, I'll just read this one and then this one's all, it's like, it's easier to hop from one author to another, and you could hop in, try it and go, I don't want it. And so I think you can have more of a, not necessarily connection with your reader, but maybe they remember you more because they bought your book. Maybe not. I don't know. We're speculating.
But, we are speculating. But I mean, I love my readers and my readers are loyal, but I also know they read a lot of other people. And so I just think, and I think, I don't know that my readers are typical KU readers, but I think most typical KU readers are voracious. And so those are the pros and cons. What would you say the pros and cons to being wide are?
Well, it does take more time. Like if you're doing ads and you're, trying to do ads for a launch, first you have to upload everywhere. Then you have to create different versions of your ads and stuff. So it's more time consuming. You do have more freedom. You can, do what you want with, where you want to distribute it, where you don't want to distribute it. And so, it's almost hard for me to think of the pros and cons because that's just kind of how I do it.
Because that's what you do. Yeah. I mean, I would say a pro would be what you were saying. You can distribute where you want to. If you want to sell it off your website, you can sell it off your website. Yeah. And that to me is a really big pro for being wide. Yeah. I think that there are more, just more available, more opportunities to get your book maybe in front of people if you're wide.
Yeah. And I feel like for the ebook, if you want to do like library distribution, you have to be you have to be wide because you can't distribute it to a library if you're in KU.
Right.
And I'm getting a lot of library sales through my ebook and my audiobook. Yes. So I think that's, for me, that's one thing that I wouldn't want to give up. Okay.
I wouldn't either. I mean, that you do well with library sales.
Yeah. And you can still do well with print library sales, even if you're in KU. But I like to I'm kind of a control freak. I want all the control of all the books and all the formats. So it works out well for me.
Yes, it does. All right. Well, I think we've beat that horse to death. So let's move on to then the second thing you have to think about before you launch is price. Like, what are you going to launch your book at? Are you going to launch at 99 cents? Are you going to launch at $2.99 or $3.99 or $4.99? I will tell you, I've done all three. Not $4.99. My first book I launched at $2.99. Second book I launched at 99 cents to see how that would go. I think if you've listened to any of this podcast, you know that I won't do that again. The third book I launched at $2.99, and the fourth book I launched at $2.99. But this book I launched at $3.99, and that's worked really well. I will tell you, my sales are a little down. I mean, not down, but and that could be, if I compare last year to this year. Of course, there's a lot that's happened between last year and this year, but the sales are a little less, and it could be because it's at $3.99 as opposed to $2.99. But I'm making more.
Yeah, you're making higher royalty, so
it kind of evens out. Yeah, absolutely. So, I probably will do that again. In fact, we'll talk about that later. But I'm going to launch the next book at $3.99. Yeah. So, what about you, Sarah?
Well, so I go with the pricing philosophy that that it's new, so it's expensive. And for me, expensive is $4.99. And I think a lot of this depends on your genre, because if everybody else in your genre is $2.99, it probably doesn't make sense to launch at $4.99. But I put mine at $4.99, and then that gives me room that later on, if I want to do a sale, then I can drop it, and I can have a bigger drop psychologically, $5 down to 99 cents, or even $1.99 is a bigger drop, So I just go with that, and I feel like this is the new product. It's like when something new comes out, the new movie, you'll go to the movie theater and pay more because you want to see it because it's new. And then later on, it will be cheaper and you can get it on Netflix or whatever, cheaper. But like for the certain, usually I try and keep it, I think of it as new for about a year.
Yeah.
And, kind of keep it in that kind of, this is special. And so that's what I do. I usually price it $4.99 and release it that. And, that's kind of just how I do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And we should say, Sara writes cozies and then mysteries, cozy mysteries and mysteries. So she's a completely different genre than me. I'm romance. And romance is kind of all over the place. For a long time, 99-cent launches were the thing. People did it because you could really rank low, get low in the ranks. And so that is and some people are still doing 99-cent launches. And that is an advantage. You can rank really low with that. But there are also people, like I have friends right now in the top 20, some in the top 10, I think, that are they launched at $3.99. So I think it's changing a little bit.
Yeah.
But
and I was going to say, even in mystery now, in Kindle Unlimited, I'm seeing people that write shorter books that are pricing at like $5.99, $6.99, some of them. And I don't know if they're experimenting to see if that will, if that will still sell. So I think over time, prices have kind of inched up across the board. Yeah. But I think romance still it's more common to have a lower price than a $4 or $5 or $6 book.
Yes,
whereas in mystery, but then if you're comparing like my historical mysteries, the traditionally published ones are like the ebooks are $10, $12. So like even at $4.99, I look cheap. The book itself looks cheap, not me. But anyway.
So that's just something you have to think about. And again, check your genre.
Yeah.
As we've always said, genre expectations. What are the expectations for the genre you're writing in? From everything from covers to content to price. What is normal for that genre? So check that. Then the next thing I think you have to consider is a pre-order or not to pre-order or not to pre-order.
That is the question.
That is the question. I have always done a pre-order. Even when in romance, back when I started, that was kind of you didn't do that. But Chris Fox advised me on the first book to put it up for pre-order a couple of weeks before. Don't run any ads. Don't do it. Don't tell anybody, but just see if it can, or just see if it could organically get some good also bots before the book released. And it worked beautifully. And so by the time that book released, my also bots were populated with books just like mine. And so that really, I think, helped. And so because of that, I've just always done a pre-order. It makes me nervous to do a live release because so much can go wrong on that day. So even if I didn't do a 2 week, and 2 weeks is as long as I've ever done. But even if I didn't do a 2 week pre-order, I would probably do a 3 or 4 day pre-order just so I had the links and I knew it was going to go live, so that, all that stuff. But if you're going to run any newsletter promos or work with a PR
bloggers
company,
or anything,
or anything like that, you need those links to give to them so that they can be ready to go on the day of. But do you pre-order?
Yeah, I do. I'm a big chicken, and I won't put it up for pre-order until I have a draft. And then once I have a draft, I'll put it up. But they've worked really well for me. When I started the historical series, I waited until I had 2 books written, and then I put the first one on pre-order, and that was when you could only do 90 days. So I put it on pre-order for 90 days. And then by the time the second one, but when the first one came out, I put the second one on pre-order. And then by that time I'd written the third, and so it was like a rolling thing. And that worked really well for me. And so there's the drawback of, like, for me, I don't feel comfortable putting it up unless I have the book, at least a draft. So there's kind of some people put up their pre-orders. You can now do it a year in advance. And some people put them up and they're just like, oh, I'll just get it written. And that would stress me out. So I don't do that. But and for me, since I'm wide, and rank is not as important to me. So like there's the thought that pre-orders the sales for pre-orders, however much you have built up in pre-orders, doesn't have the same impact on launch day. When your pre-orders come through, they're not weighted the same as if they were all new sales. But for me, I would rather capture those sales when I can, because, especially if someone has finished a book and the next one's on pre-order and they can just order it right then, I think that's a good system.
Right. And I think that there's some evidence now that the pre-orders don't hurt like they used to
I think maybe it's kind of launch. Like not weighed as heavily against you.
I mean, I had 400 pre-orders for this book, and I think 380 charged. 20 people didn't want it, or the credit card didn't go through, or whatever, and I still got down to the mid 150s. So, I mean, by the evening I had gotten farther, but I mean, it just didn't hurt me. And honestly, I don't think it's ever really hurt me. So, but I don't know, because I've never done it any other way. Yeah. So, but it is something to consider, something you want to investigate, read up on, ask some smart people, and then make a decision.
And I would say too, the other advantage of doing that is, like you said, you've got the link. And so especially if you're wide, it does take a while to upload to all the platforms. So if you're wide and you can upload all that before and it's done, and then all you have to do is upload your final version, then you're done, and you're not spending, the last moments uploading everything, hoping it all works.
And I've known a lot of people who, the day of release, I mean, they uploaded it the morning before, a full 24 hours before,
and it didn't come out.
It didn't come out, and they had all these promos lined up and stuff. And so to me, that's just too much stress for me to want to deal with. So that's how I do it. And that's how Sarah does it. And I'm KU, she's wide. So you can take that how you want. And then before we really get into the nitty gritty of what we each do for a launch, I just want to mention, and we've mentioned it before many times, but a newsletter. When you're launching your book, I think that your newsletter is your most prized possession. I mean, it is, that's why it's so important to do whatever you can to build that up, and build it up with good, solid readers. So organic is best, but there are some good promos that really kind of put you in front of the right people. But I just would say build that newsletter as much as you can. And if you haven't put a book out yet, or you don't really know what to do, and you're in KU and you can't give away your free book that's in KU, you can write a novella. You can do a short story. I mean, there are lots of ways to get subscribers, other than
you don't even have to do necessarily brand new content like a short story. You could give away, like a map of your cozy village. You could give away, Mark Dawson used to give away a dossier of his character, just a little something extra that your readers would be interested in. Recipes for cozy mysteries, things like that.
And those are things that you would do at the end of your book. I'm sort of talking about, like, right now, things you can do even before the book comes out. But yes, you would work around. So, and we'll talk about that when we talk about launching. So let's get into it. So Sarah, what do you do when let's kind of break it up a little bit. So we've got listeners who they're like me when I started, no money at all, or very little money. So for a wide author, what would you think is a good strategy?
Well, I think you would want to maximize anything that you can for connections. So like there's blog tours you can do that. I mean, I don't do a lot of blog tours, but they do get your book out there and help you be seen. So maybe you could do a blog tour. You could work with other authors. I know you do this a lot, where you do newsletter swaps. So, and I know that a lot of people are just starting out may not have a lot of money. So those are both things that are pretty low cost normally. And I think you just want to get your book in front of readers. And so what I did was I did Goodreads giveaways and Library Thing giveaways. And those you can give away, like Library Thing. I can't remember what the limit is, but you can give away copies of your book, either I think it's ebook or print. Mm-hmm. Goodreads has changed a little bit now. They do charge for that now. Mm-hmm. But that was one way that I got reviews, because when I switched from traditional to indie, all my traditional reviewers and people that were interested in my cozy books were like, "Oh, well, if you're indie, we don't do that." Mm. And so I just kind of had to start over. So I started over with Library Thing and Goodreads, and then the readers that I had. And so, like, if you've been building up your list, then you can send to them and ask them to review and ask them to share it with their friends. And, that will get you started. And it's like incremental, Yes. And yes. I think the more typical story is the incremental build rather than the big explosion.
Right. Exactly.
With the first book.
Exactly. And so for me, because I waited to put the book out, it gave me time to build relationships with other authors in groups. At the time it was the 20 books, 50K group. And then there was a couple of other smaller groups. But yeah, and so you get to know other authors in your
subgenre. Yeah, that's really important. Because if like, I'm not going to be that helpful for Jami. Like, if she's launching a romance book, a tiny portion of my readers will read romance, but most probably won't. And so it helps if your connection is with people who write in your subgenre.
Correct. So, so I would say basically the same thing, Sarah, that you said. Newsletter swaps are always great, but then again, you got to have a newsletter to swap with people. But I think most people are willing, if you've got a few hundred people on your newsletter and you just say, "Hey, I'm new, but if you'll swap, I'll swap with you and I'll share." If you're just honest, I think most people will say, "Sure, let's try this." But I will say, if you're going to do that, you got to make sure you got a good product. You got a good book that's edited professionally, that has a professional cover, because other people don't want to recommend your book because that's basically what you're doing when you do a swap, to the readers if it's not quality. So just be aware of that. I think for someone new that doesn't have a lot of money, launching at a lower price, $2.99 or less, might be a good idea, because you can get your book in like some of the paid newsletter promos. And you're going to pay some money, but it's not a ton of money. Like, if you know in advance that, like, Bargain Booksy or Robbins Reads or not Free Booksy, what's the other? Fussy Librarian or e-Reader News Today, any of those, what they cost, then you can kind of know that and save up. And then you can put your book in those, and that gets you exposure, because those emails have a really big list. It's not as big as BookBub, but they have really big list, and they try to curate them so that they are specific, Yeah. So that's a good idea right there. And then just, word of mouth and starting slow. Just starting slow and small and building up. And again, one book, you can make some money with one book. I did, but it was not enough money to live on. It was eating out money and making a car payment money. It wasn't like,
wasn't like pay off the house money.
No, not at all. So you just have to be realistic and keep that in mind. Yeah. So moving to the next step, if you've got some money, you got some money, I would definitely do the, and if you've got some money, then I would definitely do the, like a Ryan Z sort of newsletter builder. But, Book Sweeps is what it's called. But newsletter builder, before, if you can just take the time and write a novella or a shorter book and use it to build your newsletter, that would be amazing. And because that's going to cost you some money. It doesn't cost a lot, but it costs some. I would definitely look at the paid newsletters, because they're going to give you exposure, just like if you don't have a ton of money. And yeah, I think that's what I would do. What about you, Sarah?
Yeah, at that point, you might do just some small Amazon ads to get things going. If you're like really savvy with marketing and ads, then you could do more. You could, try different platforms, but a lot like Facebook is there's a lot of testing involved, and you probably need some money. I'd say probably save Facebook for later, but you could do some ads. And I think that it would be a good strategy. Just do some Amazon ads and do some of the smaller, like they're not BookBug, but they're kind of like, they have followers, but they're not quite as big a platform as BookBug. Yeah. So what if you have a ton of money? What would you recommend, Jami?
Then come tell me how you got it. No, no, I would definitely learn how to run ads. And if you can't do it, find somebody to help you with it. But and put that money where it's gonna, for your genre, where it's gonna be best. If you're in romance, you do have to have a ton of money to run Amazon ads effectively, I think. I mean, that's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but
based on experience, though, right?
Based on experience, you got to have a ton of money. And honestly, they work great if you can get them going, because it's Amazon's. I mean, you're swimming in Amazon's pool.
Yeah, because you're on that platform, and people are there to buy books.
People are there to buy books, exactly. But for the money, Facebook ads are better for me. But Facebook ads are tricky. But they're not impossible to learn. Y'all, I had no background in learning Amazon ads or Facebook ads. And I learned it. I mean, but it took some time. So you just have to know it's going to take some time. It's going to take some trial and error, but you can do it. And so, yeah, I would definitely run Facebook ads. I would definitely, if you have a lot of money and you can, and you've been doing it a while, I still think newsletter swaps work great. I think it's a great way, if you're swapping with the right people, to get in front of the right readers. And that's what's always so important, is getting in front of the right readers, because it's exposure. It's just exposure to the right people. So that would be kind of one of the things I would do. Another thing you can do if you don't have like a ton of money, and even if you do and you have some books, is discount the previous books either in the series, or like I have 4 books in my series, and so I discounted book 4 before this book launched. And I think it gave it a little boost. It gave it enough of a little boost that really helped. And I did a free run of my Kindle Countdown. Oh, that's another con. I mean, that's another pro of being in KU. A Kindle Countdown deal. You get your 70% royalty if you run a 99-cent promo. But you can also do free days, and you have 5 free days to run your book, and that can be really, really helpful and amazing.
Because if you're wide and you run your book for 99 cents or free, you're getting 35% royalty at 99 cents. And if you run it for free, you're getting nothing. So that is a pro for being in Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so, so just to kind of recap for this kind of section, you want to make sure that you're getting exposure. So if you don't have a newsletter, try to build a newsletter. If you have a newsletter, work on relationships with other authors so you can do newsletter swaps or get involved in groups that do swaps. And then learn ads.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just kind of the bottom line. And it's all, and just think about exposure, like how can I get my book in front of the right readers? That should be top of mind always.
Yeah. And I would say if you're at the point where you want to start ads, I'd say pick one platform and work on one. And maybe if you're new and launching a book, maybe you pick 3 main areas where you're going to focus. Like you're going to say, I'm going to build my newsletter. I'm going to work on newsletter swaps, and I'm going to try and learn, AMS ads or something. Like don't try and do all the things because, it can be just overwhelming, and there's a lot. And then if you do so many things, then you won't really know what worked. Right. If you do a couple, you may be able to isolate, this was helpful and this was maybe not. So it's hard to tell, because we don't know where the sales are coming from. Right. But if you're doing 50 things, you're never going to know, and you're going to be just frazzled beyond belief.
Right. So, and now I kind of want to segue, and now we're pretty much talking about people that have some money that can, the rest
a little more established authors,
a little more established because they have more books. I mean,
because you have more to work with.
Exactly. So if you're going to launch a book in a subsequent book in a series, make sure, I'm slapping my hand on my leg, make sure your back matter is up to date. Back matter. That matters. Back matter matters, because everything you do with your books is about pulling people through that series. So you want to make sure if they pick up book 1, they're going to read all the way through to book whatever, 10 if you've got them. And so in doing that, in the back of the book, like as soon as the book ends, have the link to the next book. Well, have the link to your newsletter with a giveaway if you have that. The link to the next book. And that's, just a couple of links.
Probably enough.
Yeah. The more stuff you have, the more the better the chance they're not going to move. Yeah. They're going to get distracted and not move through.
Yeah. You'll get better results if you pick either 1 or 2 things. Right. Probably ideally 1. And I know people that they'll start out and they'll say, please review this book. And then they'll go in and change it later, and they'll say, please sign up for my newsletter list, or, so that you don't always have to leave it exactly as it is.
Right. And I rarely ask for reviews at the back of the book. It's kind of not, a lot of people do, but I do that
through your newsletter, right?
Through my newsletter and my automated system once they get on my newsletter. So let's talk real quick about just back matter, which we've talked about before, but like getting people to sign up for your newsletter, because I think that is super important. Actually, I put that before the link to my next book. And y'all know how I already just said, pulling them through that series is what's so important. But I want them on my newsletter and so what I do is I have offered a second epilogue, which I've talked about before. And then to get that epilogue, they have to sign up for my newsletter. And then at the end of that epilogue, I have the link to the second book. So they're getting it at the end of the first book, but also at the end of the epilogue. Mm-hmm. I have a deleted scene. Same thing. They have a link to the next book. And then I have a novella. Same thing. Link to the next book. So that's just really important. But in the back of your book, having the fewer links is better, I think. I've had as many as 4 links, and
me too.
It doesn't work as well as just having 1 or 2. So yeah.
And the other thing I would say is that I experimented with, like when you have the last page of your story, and then the next page has all the information on it. That's how I used to do it, and so I moved that to the last page of the book, because I have talked to people, and they say, well, when the book ends, I'm done, and I close it. Mm-hmm. And as a bookworm, I'm like, what?
Yes.
Don't you turn the page just to see what else there is, see if there's an afterward or break. And then underneath it, I have, here's my newsletter, and here's the next book. I've done it differently in different series, but removing that page break, I saw an increase in signups, because to me, that just blows my mind. But as Tamara Breck says, we are not our readers. And so a lot of people, they just get to the end and then they stop. And they're not like me. They don't go on and, I read the whole back matter and then I go read the front matter again and look at the cover and stuff. If it's a print book, I check out the cover and all that stuff. So
then I Google and see if I can find their address. No,
don't tell my secrets.
So those things are just kind of important when you're setting up your book and everything. As for what I did with this launch is, as I said, I put book 4 free, and then I had the link right after the end. I have the link to the new book, like the end space, the link to the new book, and then I had the link to the first book because I felt like I'd rather move them to the new book and then they can go back around and read the others because, I have the links there. That was just my decision something I chose to do. So that's how I set up the book. But I did some things beforehand. I did the Goodreads giveaway as well. I do the 119. I just think it works great. It's on the day of release, 1,000 people who had entered, probably a little bit more than that, but and those 1,000 people got a email saying that my book was live. I mean, that's free advertising right there, folks. Well, not free. I paid $119.
Well, you paid for it, but it's probably reaching people that you might not reach any other way.
Exactly. And so I did that. I did like a countdown moving towards my launch, but I don't know how to count. So I got off. Y'all, it was ridiculous. Anyway, so then I did, I just said, it's almost here. Not long now. I mean, I can't count. Do you count the day of or do you count? Anyway, so
controversy.
So much controversy. And so I had teasers made. My cover artist made me 3 teasers and I used the tagline like Amy Dawes talked about. Mm-hmm. So in the past, I've used snippets from the book, in my teasers, but this one, I only used the tagline. The king of the gridiron is about to get sacked by a beauty queen with a grudge as big as Texas. I've used that on everything. Mm-hmm. And so I used all 3 of those. I would rotate them. And then I took the prologue, which is kind of integral to the, to the story, and broke it into pieces. And I shared like 200 words, each day leading up to the release. And that has, I just think that creates buzz. I shared it on my author page and in my group and on Instagram. And so I think that created a lot of buzz.
So I have a question for you. How important do you think promo images are?
I think they're super important in romance. Okay. In romance, they're super important. Yeah. I can't really speak to any other genre, but I can tell you in romance, it's part of the genre expectations. I think that readers expect it. They expect the big cover reveal, which I did, and they expect these, images and teasers and stuff. And so I think that they're important. But in the past, I've made my own. I have it on Canva, or you can use Book.
And there's plenty of tools where you can make your own, and they look fun.
It's just one of the part of the package that I got with my cover artist, and so she. So just creating as much buzz as you can beforehand. Mm-hmm. It's hard, There's a lot of noise out there. So having a really, like in my case, this cover, it's very tropey. I mean, it's just a really tropey cover. It's the blurb is very tropey, and so the blurb and the cover together worked really well to attract the kind of people that would like that kind of book. You know,
Right.
I mean, it was like a magnet. And so that's an easier way to create buzz, because you're really kind of focusing on a smaller, a specific group of people. Because you don't want everybody, you don't want people who don't like those books. You know, if somebody doesn't like an enemies to lovers romance, you don't really want them reading it, because that's what it is. So that's in the blurb, and that's in the, whatever. So that's something to do. And so I think it's important. And then I put up my paperback a week before the book came out, and I sent my book to my advanced readers. And then when they had their reviews, they could leave their review on Amazon as soon as they finished reading it. So I had reviews already set up on Amazon, reviews coming in on Amazon, even though it wasn't on the ebook. And then the day the book launched, I messaged email. I know I actually called through Author Central, Amazon, and asked them if they would merge the books, and they were merged by the end of the day.
Yeah.
So all those reviews showed up on that day.
So, and I don't know, I didn't mention this earlier when we were talking about pre-orders, but a lot of people don't know you can do a pre-order on your print book, because I had readers, I put up my ebook pre-order, and I have my readers like print, a lot of them. And they were like, where's the print pre-order? And I found out you can do it through Ingram Spark. So you have to set it up through Ingram, but I set up through Ingram anyway. So when you put it on pre-order on Ingram, there's just one screen where you put the release date, and you put your date that it's going to come out. And then they release it through all their channels. It can't be purchased yet until that release date, but it can be pre-ordered. So it shows up on Amazon as a pre-order. And with a couple of my recent ones, I've had like between, I think my highest was like 700 print pre-orders. So that's just a way, like if you're in KU and you want to diversify, you can do that. And then you've got another income stream. It's a little more work because you have to have a different cover, slightly different cover because of Ingram's requirements. But, you can do that. And then you can still do the Kindle or KDP print book. And then what I do, so I do the Ingram to get the pre-order, and then I go ahead and release a KDP print, and I do like you, and I release it a couple of days before. And then people can start reviewing on the print book. And then Amazon does this thing where like they suppress the Ingram book and show yours. But then you're also on pre-order on Barnes & Noble, Waterstones, and all these other places.
Yeah.
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
What a great idea. Yeah. So I don't do that because that is a lot of work.
But you may someday.
If I can get Sarah to be my book wife instead of my podcast wife.
Kind of busy right now.
Oh my gosh. So then you also want to make sure when you're posting these teasers or anything like that, or I do, that I have my BookBub link, my Goodreads link, for my author page, my Amazon author page link. And I ask people to follow me there. Like, click here to follow. Or if you do any kind of giveaway, make that one of your things, click to follow, and, you can enter or whatever. And because those, how soon they send it out is questionable with a couple of the platforms, but BookBub is very good about sending out the day your book comes out.
Yes.
And so usually the other two send out close to the day your book comes out, but the others send out an email, to the people that are following. Maybe yes, maybe no. The book people that are following you, they get an email saying, "Hey, this book is, Jami's new book is available on Amazon," and so that's just, that's free. So you really want to take advantage of all the places that you can get your name out. And I did a pre-order email. It's $25. I don't know that it helped, but it didn't hurt. You know what I'm saying?
But for $25, it's not that big of an investment.
Yeah, I figured I should try. Well, I did it the last time too. So, so for it, I probably will do it again because I can. But you have to have over a certain number of followers.
Yeah, I think it's about 1,000.
Yeah, I think it's 1,000. So then I had my assistant send out a email to authors, list of authors who are either I've worked with before or swapped with before, or authors in my genre that I know, and just kind of sent a Google form and like, Jami's book's coming out. Would you be willing to share it, or let her post in your group, or recommend it on BookBub or anything like that, and do you want an ARC? And that she sent that out, and I got a response from, a lot. I sent and 31 authors response.
That's great.
Like, oh my gosh, I didn't expect it. And so it's been really great. And so she just created a spreadsheet for me, thank God. And of course, she had to tell me how to read it. And then this is like remedial class here because I can't read a spreadsheet. But I don't work with them very often.
Yeah, but you don't need to.
No, she showed me how to read it and what to do. And so, yeah, that was really great and really helpful. And she dealt with my ARC team too, and that really helped. And so on the day of release, I created a giveaway, and I'm giving away a $5 gift card in each of those 31 groups. And so I have the blurb, I have the little thing that they have to do. All they have to do is like and comment on the post to enter, and then I give them 48 hours, and then I go in and close it. But here's what that does. And this is, I think, super important. Because I did send out, and I gave away ARCs in almost all of those groups too. So about 30, I gave on top of my ARC readers, I gave away around 25, 30 ARCs in those groups. So then to do the giveaway, and all they have to do is like and comment, and they can tag somebody, if they want. Mm-hmm. Those people that I gave ARCs away to are commenting, I just finished, it's so awesome. And somebody else will say, I loved it too, or I'm in the middle of it, or I'm about to click it, or somebody will, say something funny, which will make, about the book, which will make somebody else interested in the book. That's happened in almost every group, that the comments, the person that got the ARC has commented, or one of my readers is in that group and they've commented, and it really is awesome. It just prolongs that buzz, mm-hmm. And so I've split that up, and that goes until tomorrow. So, and then, I've just, that is an investment. It's $5. It's only a $5 gift card. I've done more, but I didn't feel like I could do more with 31.
Yeah. And I think you have to be careful if you're giving away an Amazon gift card or any kind of gift card, because you want readers. And if you have a $100 gift card, you're going to have all kinds of people who just want the gift card. They don't really care about the book.
I was going to say $5. People are like, but they, it's a fun little thing.
It's a gift. It is. It's a little gift. Token.
It really is just a gift. And and then I also the people that I actually created a spreadsheet. Of the people that I gave the ARCs away to, and so on the day of release, I just emailed them and said, if you enjoyed the book and wouldn't mind posting about it, on your page or whatever, then that would be great. You are under no obligation to. That was a gift, a free gift, no strings attached. But here's the link, and here's a graphic you can post with it. Yeah. And almost every one of them did it. Yeah. It's just
it's basically you're giving them a reminder saying, hey, if you would like to do this, this is great. no pressure, because like for us, a release is like our whole world. But for these people that review, lots of people, they're like, oh, it is that day. But lots of people review lots of books, especially like in the cozy mystery world.
Oh, yeah. And
that they love. And they like getting the new books. And sometimes the dates get away from them and they forget, or they don't get on their calendar and stuff. And I've had people email me and they're just kind of in a panic saying, oh no, I'm so sorry, I forgot. Please don't kick me off your team. And I'm like, okay, calm down. This is not that big a deal. Some people are very strict, but I'm not. So,
right.
So,
exactly.
But yeah, and it's good to give people a little reminder.
Right. And then, so then with my newsletter, I divided into thirds. And so Tuesday, a third of my newsletter got the release email. Wednesday, a third got it. Thursday, a third got it. And which keeps, because you're getting, yes, it keeps steady. And I really do think, along with my ads, that is why I stayed so consistent. Like when I was on the first day, I was very, I was dropping pretty in a good way. My rank was improving in a good way. But then once I got to 81 in the store, I stayed like right there for a whole day. And then when it fell a little bit, I still stayed out there. And I think it's because of that, my people were borrowing the book or buying the book. So then today, which it's Friday of this week that we're recording this, I sent out the same email to the unopens of all my, I have them segmented, but I sent out the same emails to the unopens. So we'll see how that goes today. I do that all the time because, some people just, they see it and they go, oh yeah, I'll open it. And then they don't, or it goes in spam or whatever.
Yeah.
And, so that's how I handle email. Do you do it differently, or do you?
Well, I was breaking it up like that. And then recently, the last couple of times I've changed for a later book in the series. And I've done that where you take, like my last release, I took like the first 6 chapters and I broke it up and I sent an email each week leading up to the release, and it had a purchase link in it. And then, so because I'm kind of odd, I feel like if people have signed up for my newsletter, I should be the one to tell them the book is out. So I did that. And then the day before, I sent an email to my list letting them know that the book was out because it's on pre-order, so they can order it. And maybe they haven't pre-ordered it until that point, but they're like, oh, it's coming out tomorrow. I'll go ahead and order it and get it. And that way they get the email from me, that instead of like BookBub or Goodreads, or because I feel like if they're getting it from all these other places, what's the reason to get it from me? I want to give them something special. So this last time I didn't break it up. I just kind of wanted to see how that went, and it did great. So I will probably do it again. And readers loved it. They loved being able to read the beginning of the story, and it got them hooked. So
that's all. Yeah. And so I think either do it. You just want to communicate, and I don't have anything else in that except the book is live. Go buy the book.
There you go.
Now, immediately go now. No. But I do funny things, I say funny things, but you would do it. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
And so that's really what I do. What I've done.
So do you do that with every book release? Is that kind of your?
Because I don't release very together. Like my books don't come out very close together, but if they came out closer together, I would probably still do it unless I was releasing like every 3 months. And then I don't think you would have to do all of that stuff.
Right.
But because you're more top of mind to people. But because I haven't had a book release in a year, I had to remind people who I was, in some cases, and then introduce, because I'm sort of not changing subgenres, but it's a little bit different subgenre. Right. I had to introduce myself to other people. And so, but yeah, with romance, it's a pretty, there's kind of a standard of making a big splash, and I do more, I think, than other people some other people, but I think I feel like I have to because I don't very often. So that's just.
Well, I was asking because I have, like, if I have a first book in the series, I put everything I can. I do like you're doing, like everything I can possibly do. And then for the later books in the series, I don't do as much because with mystery readers, they're going to probably go back and start with book 1 anyway. So even if they see book 4 is out, they're probably going to go back and start with book 1. So I try and like focus all my stuff. So I had a little list of some of the things I did with my most recent series.
Yeah, lay it on me.
Okay. So, and I tried to do some kind of different things, some kind of out of the box kind of things, because I feel like what you're doing works great in romance, but I don't think mystery readers, those same things, like they're really not that interested in cover reveals. There are a couple places you can do them, but it's not that big a deal. So I was like, okay, let me just try some different things. So like for the first book, I did a blog tour, and one of my friends had done it, and she said, yes, I lost a week of my life to that. And I was like, yes, that is true, because it is a lot of work. And this person that I used, she doesn't charge anything because she loves mysteries and she wants to help spread the word and she wants to help authors, but there's still a lot of work. So there's like no financial cost, but it's a time cost. And, because you're writing posts and answering questions and sharing. And so, but the advantage to that is reviews. Almost all those bloggers will post a review on their site and on the book sites. And then I got great quotes from all those, and they're early. You do it a little bit early.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times they will take, like they'll pull the best quotes and create a little document. And so I just pulled those and I used those like in images and graphics and stuff. So it gave me some material to work with, and it gave me some things that I could put in the, like on your page, your book page, you can go in and you have the editorial reviews. So I've listed some of those there, and it just makes your book look like it has some support behind it. Like there's something, it highlights the good parts about your book. Right. And then, now this is harder to do, but I did a book box, and, just because I thought they were cool. I was like, but I didn't do it myself. I found someone who was doing cozy mystery book boxes at the time. She had a subscription box, and I sent her an email and said, hey, would you like to do a one-time giveaway? Because I thought there's different ways to do this. Like you can provide like so many copies and be like their featured author, but I wasn't interested in doing that. But she created one box for me, and we did a giveaway, and you got a print copy of the book. And she found some 1920s historical related things, and she sourced it all, charged me for it. I paid her for it, and she did the shipping. So it's not that time consuming for me, and, images and promo from that. And so you would have to just look around and find if there's anybody doing that, or do your own, and there's some podcasts and stuff about people who have done this, and I'll try and link to those. I think on the Science Fiction and Fantasy podcast a couple of years ago, they had someone, and she tells you like where to buy the boxes and everything if you want to do that. So I talked a little bit about print arcs that I decided, or I talked about the print pre-orders. But if you're setting up a print pre-order, you can pre-order copies for yourself. And if you get them through Ingram, they don't have anything. They don't have the bar on them that says, what does it say? I can't remember. It's like not for sale or something right across usually across your person's face.
Yeah.
So, but I ordered a bunch of those, and I took the time to have a little sticker made for my cover artist, a special cover that said, this is an arc, because I had seen what traditional publishers do, and they do a lot with arcs. And I thought, well, let me try some of this. So I had a special cover made, and I sent it out to reviewers, and I think that got me some more reviews. And depending on what genre you're in, some reviewers like the print copies,
right?
So like YA and things like that would be interested in a print copy. And then once I got those from Ingram, I changed out my cover and put the cover without the ARC sticker on there, so that when the book went live, the correct cover went out. And, it wasn't hard, and it was just the cost of, the books. So, so that gave me kind of a different group of readers to approach in a different way. And I did the Kobo NetGalley option. So if you're wide, this is something I didn't think of when we were talking about wide, is you can list your ebook. You just load it up and you can be in NetGalley and you can choose, you apply, and they have to choose your book because they have a limited number of slots. But you can be in NetGalley, and, you know, I don't know what the return on that was. I don't know how many people picked up my book, but it certainly got it in front of new readers that might not have seen it.
Right.
So that's an option. And I think there's a fee for that, but I don't think it's very expensive.
Okay.
And then we talked about, I did the BookBub, the pre-order. You can announce you have a pre-order. And then I did the BookBub new release feature, which is more expensive. Mm-hmm. And I've heard different things. Some people have tried it and didn't get a good return, but I earned out. And I figured if it's getting out the word about a new series, right, and I was in a new subgenre, I figured it was worth it to get new people. So I did that. And then I staggered the release of the audiobook, not intentionally. But it actually worked out to be a good thing, because like the ebook came out and there was a big boost. And then like a month later, the audiobook came out and there was another little boost. So it kind of helped it stay up there and kind of kept the algorithms interested in the book. So that was good. And then I did the long pre-order on book 2, so that when book 1 was out, book 2 was on pre-order. And I've tried to do that. That's harder to do because you have to write ahead or hold your books back, and that's hard to do. Right. And then I tried Patreon with that first book in the series. I offered it up. You could sign up for Patreon. You could get the book 2 weeks early if you were a subscriber. And then I had all these different things, different tiers of things people could get, bonuses if they wanted to pay more. So it's like tier 1 was the price of the book, $5. Mm-hmm. And then tier 2, you got the map that was included in the book. And tier 3, I can't remember what I did. I had something else for that. And then tier 4 was you got the book and you were listed in the acknowledgments. And people were really excited about that, because I was like to my Patreon subscribers and I listed their names and they got a print copy of the book signed. Yeah. So that was some of the stuff I did. I've put Patreon on hold though, because the amount of work it requires is time consuming. It's not that much time consuming. If you really love doing that sort of thing, it could be worth it. But for me, it's, I feel like maybe if it wasn't just 2 weeks before, it might be more attractive to readers. And I had several people sign up. I had a handful sign up. And, they're like the hardcore readers that love my book. So it was great to connect with them and send them print books and stuff. Right. But I probably won't continue to do that. I might change it to some other format or something.
Well, and that's the great thing. I mean, we can see what works, what doesn't work, what's worth our time and our mental energy, and what's not, or what we feel like we can and can't do. And I just know, for me, these are the things that I can do, right. and I kind of play to my strengths. I am relational, and so a lot of things that I do are relation related, and it's not fake. It's just really who I am. And so I just think that's important to remember. And if something doesn't work, or if you didn't enjoy doing it, then don't do it the next time. Do something else. Yeah.
Or if it takes a ton of time and you're like, oh, this is just not worth it, then that's okay to let that go and try something else. Yeah.
Exactly. But the whole goal, clearly is exposure. I mean, just getting that book in front of the right people, having something about it, or something about what you do be a little bit different, just so you stand out. I think those things are just so important. So and then in the middle of all, as soon as the book went out, my ads started running. So just
and that's what I was going to say too. I also turned on Amazon ad, auto targeted, just low level ad, just to keep to get some information, to get some also bots on there, and to kind of get the algorithms going. So I was going to say, I did all that for the first book, but for a subsequent book in the series, I don't do nearly as much. I did the emails to my readers. I do an ARC team for all my books, but I have an ARC team, and I'll send them a book and ask them to review it, and do the low-level Amazon ads. And I'll do graphics and stuff for my website and for social media, but I don't feel like they're critical. Like I don't do a countdown deal. I feel like it's kind of like a bonus thing. It's like, oh, hey.
Don't do it unless you can count. So that is my tip of the day.
Critical there. Critical thing. So, but anyway, so like for me, I do like a big launch for book one. And then my main strategy, if I have another book that comes out, is to put book one on sale. And if I can get a BookBub, then I'll do a lot of the stuff that you do for BookBub aimed at book one, or whatever I can get for book one to get people into the series and read through. So it's a completely different strategy. And I'm kind of glad I don't do I'd be so exhausted. I'm exhausted listening to your list of things you did.
Well, speaking of that, the list of what I do is on my website. Yes. So it's www.jamialbright.com/launch plan. And we'll put that in the show notes. We've mentioned it before, but it's free, and it has the graphics that I use. It has, or that I used. It has examples of the copy I use in some things. And so, yeah, I mean, if you want it, it's there. It's free, and you're welcome to it. So, and then take what works, and then get rid of what doesn't, or maybe it'll spur an idea and you do something completely different. So I think that's really all I have. What about you?
Yeah. I think that's a ton of information.
It's a lot of information, y'all. I'm sorry we just, unloaded on you, but it's just important. I mean,
there's just a lot of things you can do.
Yeah, gone are the days of where you could just put a book up and people are going to find it. In fact, I don't even know if those days ever existed. Maybe in the early days of Kindle, but you've got to do something, and just so people notice. Yeah.
So hopefully this gives people some ideas of different things they can try, and we would love to hear like what's working for you. If you have something that you've tried and was very successful, and we are starting a Facebook group.
Yes.
So you can find us there. Hopefully it'll be easier to find us there. So it will be called the same name as the podcast, Wish I'd Known Then for Writers Facebook group. And we will have a couple of questions, but they will be easy. Yeah. Don't forget to answer the questions to get in, and then maybe that'll be easy.
Because, Sarah and I are from Houston.
Just in case.
FYI. Just FYI.
Just in case you might need to know that.
And and then we'll pop in, and if you've got questions about launches or any of the stuff, we'll answer those for you. But we just wanted to kind of have a place that if you want to join, you can. Certainly you're under no obligation to come hang out with us, but it would be great if you did. And I think that's it.
So we'll have show notes and links. I won't have links to everything we talked about today, but I mean, we'll have like the Goodreads link, Jamie's link, the different things that, the big high level points that could be helpful. Those will all be there, and they will be at wishidknownforwriters.com.
That's right.
Yeah. So,
all right.
Thanks for listening. Bye, everybody.
Y'all have a great week.
Happy launching.
Thanks for listening to the Wish I'd Known Then podcast. We hope this episode inspired you, empowered you, and made you laugh a little bit too. If you loved it, tell your friends about it. And if you feel so inclined, leave us a review. We look forward to being with you again next week.